Man, I tell you what, there's so much going on that I really didn't know where to start first. Teal Shirt Report Podcast, episode show number 33. Tommy Durrance, former Florida Gator running back in the late 60s, early 1970s, was my first number 33. It really was. I think James Littleman Stewart wore 33 for the Jaguars. I'm going to have to double check that, but I believe he did. And I think he's the only and I could be wrong, but I think he's the only Jaguars player in history to have 5 touchdowns. 5. Let me see if I can hold up. That's kind of hard to do the way we're set up here, but I'm trying to hold up 5 fingers. 5 touchdowns, that's a lot of touchdowns. And James Littleman Stewart will never be in the Hall of Fame. His NFL career was much briefer than, say, Fred Taylor, who's probably going to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He should have got in last year. We appreciate you guys tuning in. A lot of things going on with the Teal Shirt Report podcast, brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida, whether it's home, residential, business, or commercial real estate. Happy Father's Day. My dad passed away now. It's been like 4 or 5 years. Not quite 5 years. It's been 4 years. Let's say 4 years. I miss Dad. When it comes to sports, Dad he was the guy. He was the guru with me. And then when I got into radio, it was guys like, Jay Solomon and a few others, but for the radio business. But the coffee's good, by the way, executive producer JC. We're going to talk North Florida entertainment, Jaguars, semi-pro football, tough loss for our good friend Champ Samuels. He was going for a second ring in 2 different leagues. He won a title a couple of years ago with the Georgia Cobras. Great defensive lineman, good football player, and the EAFL is probably considered a stronger league than the APDFL. But Mr. Samuels decided to go back to his hometown, play for the Port City Vikings, who were actually in the APDFL. They made it all the way to the championship game, but lost to the Columbus, Georgia Storm. That's right, JC, not that far from you, probably within 60, 90-mile radius of you. Columbus Storm won the APDFL football championship. This game was played in New Orleans, and it's one of the top semi-pro football leagues. EAFL may be the top. APDFL is right up there close to them. Columbus, Georgia Storm, they've been, a lot of people don't know about them, but they played in this APDFL for a long time. And I call it semi-pro football. Other people may call it like a developmental league, etc., etc. When these guys play for the love of the game and they're not making the huge contracts, the huge money, that's semi-pro football. They're not in high school anymore. They're not in college. These guys are still playing, continuing to play football for the love of the game. Columbus, Georgia Storm, 14. The Port City Vikings out of Mobile, 8. Final score. The game was played in New Orleans. Good football game, a lot of defense, and Champ Samuels told me he had 4 tackles in the game, and he kind of felt like he could have played better. And I guess we all could. We all feel like that if our team we're playing for loses. So that was tough. We'll run down more semi-pro football scores, which include indoor football leagues and the NAL, and we'll go down the list of some of those. But we're primarily here to talk about the Jaguars, North Florida entertainment. Semi-pro football is kind of part of North Florida entertainment, along with Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Baseball, the Shrimp having a good year. They're now 42-26. We'll talk more about them too as the Teal Shirt Report podcast continues, episode show number 33. James Littleman Stewart, I've got to look him up now to make sure he was 33. I have to jog my memory. I've got a pretty good long-term memory. It's probably better than some of my short-term memories. But James Littleman Stewart did have a game. JC, you can look it up. You're our executive producer. Look it up. James Littleman Stewart had one game that was 5 touchdowns. James, I didn't know Otis was part of his name. James Otis Littleman Stewart III, born back in 1971. He did play pro football for 9 years in the National Football League, and that means he's got the retirement, Brother JC, our executive producer. Played college football for the Tennessee Volunteers, was selected by the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first round of the 1995 NFL Draft. Stewart played for some big cat teams, the Jaguars, played for the Lions, played in the league from about 1995 to 2003. But I believe the highlight of his career was the 5-touchdown game. And I got to see if I can find that. 5 touchdowns in one game. 5 touchdowns. It was in one game. And, of course, he did not have the big yardage career, the monstrosity of touchdowns that a Fred Taylor got in his career, or Jimmy Smith, or he did have a chance to run behind a good offensive tackle and left tackle, Tony Baselli. Let me see if I can find something. There's number 33, James Stewart, looking at an old photo. Yes, sir. October 13th of 1997, James Stewart became only the 4th player in NFL history to rush for 5 touchdowns in a game as Jacksonville manhandled the Philadelphia Eagles in a 38-21 victory for the Jags over the Eagles. And that was back October the 13th of 1997, JC. James Stewart's 5 touchdowns sparked the Jags. This is a good one, JC. James Stewart ran out of the shadow of Natron Means and into the company of Jim Brown, rushing for 5 touchdowns on Sunday, October the 13th of 1997. And that is, without a doubt, worth saluting the guy. There's no doubt about it. James Stewart, 5 touchdowns in a football game. Not many have done that. You're tuned in to the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We'll move ahead. What was that, 1997? We'll move ahead to good old 2025. It's all about wins and losses now for this new regime. James Gladstone, the GM. Tony Baselli, the new executive vice president of football operations. You got a young head coach and 39-year-old Liam Cohen, who's a pretty good red zone offensive mind. He did really well with Tampa Bay in the red zone. I think they scored maybe in the red zone. I think I remember the stat like close to 65% touchdowns inside the red zone when they got inside the red zone. And that's pretty good. So, Liam Cohen is going to devise the offense along with offensive coordinator Grant Udinski. I don't know what all the responsibilities are be, but you can guess the offensive coordinator is good. This guy, Udinski, has never been an OC. He's been like an assistant quarterbacks coach with Minnesota, I believe. He's 29 years old, and he'll definitely be the protege of Liam Cohen. But these guys have experience in the league. But Liam Cohen, has been at Kentucky as an offensive coordinator in college. Tampa Bay, he was with the Rams as well. These guys are all proteges of who? They've all actually worked under GM Les Snead, which on the surface I could say is a pretty good thing. I'd rather have Les Snead as my GM, but Gladstone worked a lot of years for Les Snead. So we'll see what happens. It's about wins and losses, more wins and losses in the first 2 years of this new regime. And in the next 4 years. 2 playoff appearances in the next 4 years. That would be my goal for the Jaguars. and you look at it after 4 years, you're going to look at this thing and say, hey, the Jags need to win more games than they lose. And you should even look at that in the first 2 years, in my mind. So, what did we want to talk about as far as the Jags go? We've talked about offense. We talked about defense. I did see something that really did interest me. I got the music back on there. Something that really interests me. And JC, we're going to talk North Florida entertainment too. And by the way, semi-pro football APDFL championship game. I'm actually going to hit some of my stuff on Twitter here. Give me a second here. Yes. Semi-pro football APDFL championship game held in New Orleans. It was the Columbus, Georgia Storm 14, Port City Vikings 8, a final on Saturday, June the 14th of 2025. That comes to us from BigJReport.com. You can find semi-pro football scores up on the website at BigJReport.com. We're very sad to hear that score because we got a good friend, Champ Samuels, who played for the Port City Vikings out of Mobile, Alabama. Columbus, Georgia Storm from Columbus, Georgia won the APDFL championship game held in New Orleans. Columbus, Georgia Storm 14, the Port City Vikings 8, a final on Saturday, June 14th of 2025. Let's get back to the Jags. We're going to talk about the Jags, semi-pro football, North Florida entertainment. And, hey, we appreciate you guys tuning in here to the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 33. We want to salute Tommy Durrance, one of the first running backs at the college level I remember. It was Tommy Durrance, number 33, John Reeves, number 7. Tommy was catching passes out of the backfield. He was making some good runs. Mike Rich, another running back, was on those early Gator teams in the late 60s and 1970s. I say early Gator teams. When I started watching college football, as a post-toddler. I was probably 6, 7 years old, 6, 7, 8 years old then. So 33, Tommy Durrance, we'll salute him. James Littleman Stewart, number 33 of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And my dad. I found a picture of my dad. I found some pictures. I think my mom brought them to my attention. We found some pictures of Dad that I'd never seen them before until when I saw these pictures. It was kind of really sad, but it was very poignant, I guess you'd say, appropriate at the time. My dad passed away a day after I first saw some of these photos. Dad transferred from Florida to Florida Southern. He played basketball at Florida Southern. I don't know. Now, Dad's stats, I don't have any of those. But I did find a photo of Dad in college wearing number 33. Dad was not a starter. I'm going to say that. He was not a starter, but there is a picture of him with the Florida Southern basketball team, and Dad was wearing number 33. Episode show number 33, right? I do know that Enrique Crumbs plays for a team called the River Gators in indoor football. I believe they're out of the Huntsville area, because I asked Enrique the other day, but he's playing for the River Gators, and he's wearing number 33, too. We'll salute him as well. So we got about 4 number 33s. Cool number, good number. I love the double numbers. I think 22 is probably my more favorite number than 33, but now, with number 33, James Littleman Stewart, Tommy Durrance, Enrique Crumbs, and my dad in a photo I found when he was playing some basketball at Florida Southern. He was wearing number 33. So I thought I'd pass that along to you today. So a lot of information. Now, we talk about the Jags, and that's what we're here to talk about. The Jaguars, North Florida entertainment, semi-pro football. I do want to I want to approach some subjects here, and I'll go back to the Twitter account. And if you want to follow us at Twitter, because we put a lot of our stuff that we're interested in up on Twitter, and you can follow us Scott Mullis at Big J Report Scott. That's how you find us on Twitter. We got a few hundred followers. Hopefully that'll pick up. And our website is publicized on the Twitter account. And I shouldn't say Twitter anymore. It is an X account, the X.com. It's now known as the X.com. As you know, Elon Musk bought it. How long has it been since Elon Musk has owned Twitter? Probably 2-3 years, maybe, something like that. I'm not sure how long, but he's owned it for a couple of years or more. And a lot's happened since then, no doubt about that. Let's talk about something that I did post after reading it from someone else. Jamal St. Cyr works in TV for one of the TV stations in Jacksonville. He put a picture up of, Brian Thomas Jr., the number 1 wide receiver. Travis Hunter, officially the number 2 or the 1B receiver. And then he's got Dyami Brown, the guy the Jaguars signed as a free agent from the Washington Commanders. Parker Washington, I think the 4th wide receiver, not in this picture, but there was actually a caption. How many yards are in this picture? And you got, I think Parker Washington might have been resting on the play. I mean, he wasn't in the picture though, but he's the number 4 guy. You got Brian Thomas Jr., the number 1 guy going into his second year. Travis Hunter, the all-everything rookie. The Jags traded up to get him at number 2 overall. He's a wide receiver / cornerback, but he's still going to be the number 2, at least at number 2. He might end up being number 1B, 1A. We'll see how the season unfolds. So when I saw this picture, how many yards are in this picture? The 3 wide receivers. Dyami Brown, the free agent from the Commanders. Brian Thomas Jr., number 7. Dyami Brown will wear number 5, the old Brother Bortles number, right? Brian Thomas Jr. wears number 7. Travis Hunter wears number 12. How many yards are in this picture? Well, you hope a lot. But I did make a comment on this picture to Jamal St. Cyr. Keep all 3 of these guys healthy. Keep all 3 healthy and the quarterback healthy, and the Jags might start winning games 35-30 instead of those gut-wrenching 17-12 losses as an example of a typical score in some of these low-scoring, gut-wrenching losses. And I went on to say it's about wins and losses for this team now. Offensive line critical now also. Offensive line and DL, the biggest concern for me, your host, Scott, of the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Again, I'll repeat that. The O-line and the D-line, the biggest concern for me with the Jags. Quarterback needs a good year. He's got to protect the football. And we're talking about Trevor Lawrence. So the D-line and the O-line are huge. Trevor's got to protect the football. But I think you've got some skilled players. You got Bigsby and ETN. You got the 3rd running back, who, the drafted guy, as I call him. And he's big and fast. He's like a bowling ball. He's been compared by some, and this is a tough pressure-packed comparison Maurice Jones-Drew. But we're talking about Bashal Tutin. Got some good speed. Kind of a guy built kind of like a bowling ball, kind of low to the ground, and he's got some speed. He right now is the 3rd running back, behind Bigsby and ETN. And then the wide receivers, Travis Hunter, Dyami Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., the number 1 guy, Travis Hunter, number 2, Dyami Brown, number 3, and Parker Washington, probably the number 4 guy. Trying to put 4 fingers up. There you go, 4 fingers. Okay. You got skilled players on this team, and you got some Strange this year. Tight end Brenton Strange going into his 3rd year on his rookie deal. He showed some flashes, although he's got to watch fumbling the football. He did fumble the ball a couple of times when he got more playing time or more balls thrown his way because Evan Ingram got hurt. Evan Ingram missed a lot of football. He's not even on the team anymore. He's now in Denver with the Broncos. O-line, D-line is crucial, critical. Training camp, the competition at these positions. I'm not going to really go into all the players right now. I do know the Jags have a rookie offensive lineman that I hope he gets a shot at starting at one of the guard positions. And we're talking about a guy, Wyatt Millam out of West Virginia, the Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year. I believe he played tackle most of the time in college. Might have played some guard, but he's projected as a guard in the NFL. Cornerback Caleb Ransall out of Tulane was one pick before Milam. The Jags had picks back-to-back in the third round. After trading that second-round pick as part of the Travis Hunter deal, where the Jags could move up to number 2 and draft Travis Hunter. So, the skilled players are there. But crucial and critical, the Jags have got to get improved offensive line play. They've got to get improved defensive line play, and Trevor's got to protect the football. That's what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? Okay. That's how I feel about it going into the season. Can they win more than they lose? Well, they could, and that's... But I think the critical thing would be after 2 years of the new regime, have you won more games after 2 years than you've lost after 2 years? Year 1 could be a surprise, good or bad, right? The team was 4-13 last year, no playoffs. But playoffs were far removed for the Jaguars in 2024. So we hope for the best. We'll follow this team here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast, no doubt about that. Taking a look at semi-pro football in the underworld of semi-pro football, as I call it, in 2025 now. Arena, indoor, and outdoor football. Semi-pro football APDFL championship game was held in New Orleans. In the Big Easy, the Columbus, Georgia Storm won the title. Columbus, Georgia Storm 14. The Port City Vikings 8. A final on Saturday, June the 14th of 2025. The Jacksonville Sharks fall short on the road in a tough loss up in Green Bay, but it was played indoors in the Indoor Football League. So it was obviously not the frozen tundra, but it was in Green Bay. The Green Bay Blizzard put too many points up on the board for the Sharks to catch up in the second half. The Green Bay Blizzard 75, the Jacksonville Sharks 43, a final on Friday, June the 13th of 2025. The Sharks fall to 7-4 in the Indoor Football League, and the Green Bay Blizzard improved to 8-3. Earlier action and results here in 2025 in the IFL, the Indoor Football League. There was a nice and very good IFL win for the Jacksonville Sharks at home a couple of weeks ago. The Jacksonville Sharks 54, the Arizona Rattlers 48 at home. That was home field advantage, home field cooking there. The Jacksonville Sharks 54, the Arizona Rattlers 48 on Saturday evening, June the 7th of 2025. The Sharks were 7-3 after the win over Arizona, but now the loss to Green Bay, just a couple of days ago on Friday night, June the 13th of 2025, the Sharks now are 7-4. Okay, more indoor and arena action. NAL playoffs back on Saturday, June the 7th of 2025. Beaumont, Texas has a National Arena League team. Beaumont, Texas 56, the Columbus, Georgia Lions 45, a final out in Texas in the playoffs. The NAL, the National Arena League, is now having their playoffs with the playoff loss. Beaumont, Texas 56, Columbus, Georgia Lions 45, a final in Texas. With the playoff loss, the Columbus, Georgia Lions, I believe, end up 5-5 overall. Kind of a short NAL season. Semi-pro football, EAFL, North Florida Warriors 28. The Central Florida Colts 6, a final in the EAFL AA playoffs on Saturday, June the 7th of 2025. Georgia Cobras got eliminated in the EAFL AAA playoffs Alabama Commandos, Alabama Commandos 30. Georgia Cobras 20, a final on Saturday, May the 31st of 2025. This game was played in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. National Arena League going back a couple of weeks ago before the playoffs. The Wheeling, West Virginia Miners 47, the Columbus, Georgia Lions 44. A final on Saturday, May the 31st of 2025 in Columbus, Georgia. The Columbus, Georgia Lions at that juncture were 5-4, but then they had the playoff loss I told you about to Beaumont, Texas, 56-45. Beaumont, Texas, 56. The Columbus, Georgia Lions 45. A final in Texas, and the Lions get knocked out of the first round of the playoffs, and they finish their season at about 5-5. So, my friends, that is a look at the underworld, as I call it. I say that in a positive way. These guys play for the love of the game, and a lot of nice guys playing indoor, arena football, semi-pro outdoor football, and we try to cover it here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. JC, we're about 26 minutes in now. We're brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida. There's links on our website for Saucer Realty and Capital on the homepage near our North Florida weather report on our homepage at bigjreport.com. Also, you got your Wednesday night request show with Mad Max, the Mad Max Mix down at Weebly.com on Wednesday nights. Max has such a great show. I heard Max playing Eddie Rabbit, then he played some Steely Dan for me. And Max, we've been doing interviews on your show for a long time, and we're hoping to be back on in interview fashion with Mad Max on the next show on the next Wednesday night, the madmaxmix.weebly.com. Wednesday nights from 6 till 8 Central Time, 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Max plays classic rock classics, and he plays request music pop classics too, from days gone by pretty much. Great music, great catalogs. You'll hear Leonard Skinner, you'll hear Steely Dan, the Allman Brothers sometime. I heard Max play Eddie Rabbit the other night. I've heard Max play so many different things. Quite a variety on the madmaxmix.weebly.com. 38 Special, John Lennon, Leonard Skinner, Steely Dan, Atlanta Rhythm section, and more. Also, the very next night on Thursday night, it's JC live from the pub. Thursday nights on LakeUfallahits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. JC's been playing some other cuts by Steely Dan for me, too, on his show on Thursday nights on LakeUfallahits.com. Live from the pub with JC on Thursday nights, getting underway at 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Time on Thursday nights. There's links to all of these shows, the madmaxmix.weebly.com on Wednesday nights, and JC live from the pub on Thursday nights at Lake Eufaula Hits. The links are in the Neighbors 2 section at bigjreport.com. There's even an article about Mad Max in the Outside the Box section and a link there for the madmaxmix.weebly.com on Wednesday nights. So those are our sponsors, Saucer Realty and Capital, the madmaxmix.weebly.com, and Lake Eufaula Hits, JC live from the pub on Thursday nights, of course. Hey, thank you for tuning in. We're going to take a look at some North Florida entertainment. How about the Jumbo Shrimp? Man, do they keep winning or what? They got a nice save from their relief pitcher, and that's Matt Pouchard. He was critical in the Saturday night game, June 14th. The Jumbo Shrimp are now 42-26. Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp 5, Rochester 4, but Rochester, they fall to 22-44. They're one of the weaker teams in AAA baseball, while the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp getting a 5-4 win over Rochester on Saturday, June the 14th. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp are now 42-26. I do want to talk about the concerts. And JC, I got something new for you that I want you to research as our executive producer. There's some shows coming up. I've talked about some of these shows coming up on the Mad Max Mix .weebly during our interview, madmaxmix.weebly.com with Mad Max. We talked about some of the groups that have been coming to Jacksonville, you can go to our website at bigjreport.com, and click on the Neighbors 2 section. Rick Springfield, I won my 80s tour featuring John Waite. Wang Chung, who was really good during this show, and John Cafferty, was held back on Thursday night, May the 29th of 2025 at the St. Augustine Amphitheater. Rick Springfield, 75 years old. Man, he looked great. You could have guessed that guy was 75. You really couldn't. He really looked good during the show. And in the videos that I saw, Wang Chung, a great performance during this show. Rick Springfield, I won my 80s tour featuring John Waite, Wang Chung, John Cafferty, was held back on Thursday night, May the 29th of 2025 at the Amp, the St. Augustine Amphitheater. So we got some good reviews on Wang Chung's performance right after the show. Coming soon, from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the rock band Heart will be performing in St. Augustine, Florida on Tuesday evening, June the 24th of 2025 at 7 o'clock p.m. That's exactly right. Yeah, let me get back where I was. We're talking about Heart now. The group Heart. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, my executive producer told me, back in 2013. The rock band Heart will be performing in St. Augustine, Florida on Tuesday evening, June the 24th of 2025 at 7 o'clock p.m. at the St. Augustine, Florida Amphitheater. Also, Brad Paisley will be in concert in St. Augustine, Florida on Saturday, October the 2nd of 2025 at 7:30 p.m. at the St. Augustine Amphitheater. Now, here's a good one, and JC, here's where your research will come in. I want you to do some research on this group that I'm going to tell you about right now. I just found recently, as of last week, I found out UB40 will be performing at the St. Augustine Amphitheater on August the 23rd of 2025. But for me, the real news of this show is that, listen to this now, and this is a good one, UB40 and The Fix. That's what I'm hearing. UB40 and The Fix will be at the St. Augustine Amphitheater on Saturday night, August the 23rd of 2025 at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are selling fast. UB40 was more of a reggae pop band, and probably their biggest hit was a song called Red, Red Wine. You remember that one? Red, Red Wine. But the group I would really want to see more would be The Fix. Stand or Fall. One thing leads to another. Saved by Zero. JC, do some research on The Fix, because I have heard some interesting things that they might have got a raw deal from one of the early record companies. I hear the group is pretty much, the same group is pretty much almost all intact. So JC, we need to do some research on The Fix. Play them on your show, The Fix, Stand or Fall, Saved by Zero. Gosh, what's that other song that I love by The Fix? Red Skies at Night. Red Skies at Night. Oh. Oh. You know that song? So I would want to go to this show to see The Fix. Nothing wrong with UB40. But this is how it's, I've looked it up. It says UB40 is performing at the St. Augustine Amphitheater on August the 23rd of 2025 with special guest The Fix. That's all it says. It's going to be interesting. JC, The Fix put out a new album apparently, and there's a guy that did a documentary about The Fix, and I did subscribe to his channel and watch some of I need to go back and watch more of it, but I'm very interested in this. I really love the group The Fix. For me, they were not the Cars, they were not Steely Dan, but they were right under them. You got the Cars, you got Steely Dan, you got Natalie Merchant, John Mayer, and then somewhere in there you got The Fix, Saved by Zero. And all those great, the Fix had a lot of great songs, and they were probably, as you look up the information, JC, they were a big MTV band. They really were. Saved by Zero, one thing leads to another was, I believe, their biggest and their first hit, but they had other great songs too. Look them up, JC. As I understand it, they even put out a new record, a new album, CD, etc. just, I think, a year or two ago. I'll let JC do the research on it, though, but let me see. I got some info on the Fix here. So, and we're telling you about the Fix in St. Augustine. The show's going to be in St. Augustine, Saturday, August 23rd at 2025. UB40 in the Fix, Saturday, August 23rd at 2025 at 7:30 p.m. at the St. Augustine Amphitheater. The Fix, they've had some songs that a lot of people don't know that are out there. A song called Driven Out. There is the newer album, JC, that came out, I think, a year or two ago, maybe 1 or 2 years ago. The album is called Every 5 Seconds. The Fix. Check them out, JC. I mean, they're going to be special guests of UB40. They're not even the headliner. But I'm putting the Fix just barely right underneath the Cars in Steely Dan. I'm talking about the Fix. UB40 is performing at the St. Augustine Amphitheater on August 23rd at 2025 with special guest, The Fix. And JC, Stand or Fall was a great song by The Fix. And we'll have some requests for you to play The Fix on your show. They're live from the pub on Thursday nights at LakeUFallHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. Also, another great event coming up that I've talked to Mad Max on his show about, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com. Mad Max is very knowledgeable on the Monkees. I saw him as a kid in repeats, early, mid-1970s. They were on, first of all, I think in mid to late 60s on network television, like in primetime TV at night. And they were on for, I think their show maybe had a 3 or 4 year run. But I didn't see them. I was too young. I was like a toddler then. I was too young to watch it then. But they started putting the Monkees on Saturday morning cartoons, like in between some of the cartoons on Saturday morning on network TV, the Monkees. There's only one surviving Monkee left now, the Monkees. And one surviving Monkee left, Mickey Dolenz, the drummer. And Mad Max, we brought the Monkees up because they're gonna be at the Florida Theater here in Jacksonville on December the 5th of 2025. I'm interested in this event. Not, the Monkees, man, they are legendary, right? And Mickey Dolenz made a career out of the Monkees. He was like a child actor before he got the part as Mickey Dolenz on the TV show The Monkees. And we can have a lot of conversations about the Monkees, but tickets for the Monkees, and there's only one surviving Monkee left. Tickets for Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees, songs and what I love, stories. Songs and stories about the Monkees and Mickey Dolenz at the Florida Theater on December the 5th of 2025 are on sale now. That's a ways off. Now, Mickey Dolenz is 80 years old now. Can you believe that? Alex Nunry, one of our producers, he was at rugby. He's been at a couple of rugby games. The Jacksonville Axemen, I think they brought in a ringer to play in this last game. They beat Miami, and I don't know what the final score was. I'm going to have to hit Alex up right now because I think he's on the chat right now. Let me see here. Alex is... Let me ask Alex the final score of that game because what's interesting is that I think the score was 90-0 at one time. And let me ask Alex. Alex, what was the final score of the Axemen game against Miami? We're asking him in the chat right now. Let's see, Axemen game versus Miami. John Gaylor, our contributor and correspondent, did attend that game as well, and they're asking me to go to another one in a couple of weeks from now. So we're going to ask Alex on the chat. I think Alex was just on the chat, so he should be able to see this. Let me see who they were playing. We'll pull up the Jacksonville Axemen. This is rugby. They play in a professional rugby league. The Jacksonville Axemen were big winners. Last I heard, it was like 90-0. Happy Father's Day to everybody. And I'm remembering fathers that are still here with us, and fathers that have passed on, like JC's dad, Big Johnny, who's passed on. I know he misses his dad like I miss my dad, Mr. Sonny. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers, to all the ones living, and the ones that have passed on are remembered today too. It's Father's Day, Sunday, June 15th, 2025, episode show number 33 of the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Alex just gave me the score, 102-0. And I asked Alex, I said, is this team from Miami a professional team? Let me ask Alex, what was the name of the Miami team? Alex is telling me this rugby game was 102-0. The Jacksonville Axemen, they're called the Axemen, carrying an axe. The Jacksonville Axemen 102, the Miami rugby team nothing. And I had, by the way, the Jacksonville Armada battled to the Miami Shoremen. Alex just hit me back. The Miami Shoremen, the Jacksonville Axemen 102, the Miami Shoremen nothing. Let me ask Alex, where was the game played at, Alex? I'm gonna ask, Alex doesn't know I'm chatting with him when we're producing a podcast. We'll ask him where the game was played at. Ian Ferguson got us info on the Jacksonville Armada. They did not win on Saturday, June 14th, but they ended up in a tie. Ian Ferguson, will quote Ian. He's a Big J Report contributor. In a chippy match with some of the worst, most inconsistent refereeing I've seen in a couple of years, Ian Ferguson went on to say, this is the first time I've complained about the referee this season. The Jacksonville Armada FC men lose their 100% record but remain undefeated after battling to a tie 0-0 with the New Orleans Jesters. And Alex hit me back, said, yeah, the game was played at UNF. John Gaylor was there. Alex Nunnery was there. Was played at UNF, University of North Florida. I mean, are the Miami Shoremen a professional rugby team? Come on. 102-0? But Alex says the Jacksonville Axemen are that good, and they've been good for a number of years, the rugby team in Jacksonville. The Jacksonville Axemen 102. The Miami Shoremen 0. And again, the Jacksonville Armada and the New Orleans Jesters battled to a 0-0 tie on Saturday, June the 14th. But I meant to say the Armada. The Jacksonville Armada FC, the Jacksonville Armada soccer team in Jacksonville, NPSL team, they battled the New Orleans Jesters to a 0-0 tie, but the Jacksonville Armada are having a great year. They're 4-0-1. 4 wins, no losses, and now 1 tie. I think that's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Got everybody involved. JC, you got to do some research on The Fix. You remember their album, Reach the Beach? And apparently now they put out another album. They've had record company troubles. They were with RCA for a while. And I think they were with MCA before that, several years ago. The Fix has an album. I'm not going to say it's new, but it's recent. Like within the last year or two, the album called Every 5 Seconds. There's a song that was talked about called Driven Out by The Fix. But the songs they did back in the 80s, loved them. Played them on the radio when I was in radio in Jacksonville. when I was in radio at 94Q and other places. The Fix, Saved by Zero, One Thing Leads to Another, Stand or Fall, Red Skies at Night. JC, come on, man, do some research on The Fix, and let's get The Fix on your show. I'm going to make some requests for The Fix for JC's show on Thursday night live from the pub. Mad Max is welcome to play him too. But The Fix will be, as we said, they're going to be with UB40. As we understand it, as of right now, we're hearing Saturday night, August 23rd at 2025. UB40 and The Fix on Saturday, August 23rd of 2025 at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, August the 23rd of this year, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. We understand the tickets for that show are selling fast. Mickey Dolenz, the Songs and Stories, Mickey Dolenz, Last Surviving Monkey, will be at the Florida Theater in Jacksonville in December of 2025. That show and many other shows are up on our website if you scroll the Neighbors 2 section at bigjreport.com. We're brought to you by Salsa Realty and Capital, the Mad Max Mix, and Lake Eufaula Hits, and JC's live from the pub show on Thursday nights. Mad Max is on Wednesday nights with the madmaxmix.weebly.com. I want to thank our executive producer, JC, for all the input, the conversation, his opinions that we kind of express out here. And, the coffee boy makes the coffee, too. Great stuff. Man, some good coffee there. Special thanks to our executive producer, JC. Also, Alex Nunnery, who was covering the Jacksonville Axemen. Did I say 102 for the Jacksonville Axemen? Jacksonville Axemen 102, and the Miami Shoremen 0. Jacksonville Armada battled. Can you imagine? And even a 0-0 game is thrilling to the end because if somebody scores, they win. But it was a tie. The Jacksonville Armada 0, the New Orleans Jesters 0. And the Jacksonville Axemen game was at UNF, at University of North Florida. Again, thank you to our executive producer, JC. Also, another producer, Alex Nunnery. We do want to thank John Gaylor, our contributor and correspondent to the Teal Shirt Report podcast and BigJReport.com and the Big J Report Facebook group, too. Thank you so much to John Gaylor. I want to thank Mr. Polo, Mr. Solo. Got a couple of guys tuning in. We're picking up more subscribers now. Please comment about anything we've discussed. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. We got a lot of North Florida information on here. And woo, man, we're going to be talking SEC football soon, too, here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. You guys have a great day. We're primarily on this podcast talking about Jacksonville Jaguars football, North Florida entertainment, semi-pro football, SEC football, the Florida Gators, and more right here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. This has been episode show number 33. You guys have a great day. I'm your host, Scott, of the Teal Shirt Report podcast, and I am out. Take care.